One of the things I like best about Jim Sheridan's work is his jagged, spontaneous style. Spontaneity is not exactly the hallmark of most contemporary movies, a situation not likely to change with the advent of the latest American computer programs. They aim to aid screenwriters in their ongoing struggle with the cinematic muse. Word processing software can already lay out scripts in the approved Hollywood format, but new programs go way beyond numbering pages and setting margins. They want to be your writing partner. Moving Pictures takes a quizzical look at the new programs and asks whether screenwriters want to collaborate with a mouse.
A lot of people look at movies and television today and think it's been written by a computer, and frankly, I think that's insulting the computer.
Collaborator will help the writer stay focused on the idea and make the process, to some degree, less tedious.
Dramatica is not designed to make writing easier. Dramatica is designed to make writing harder. Dramatica says, here's the tools to play with. Have fun with them. Rearrange them any way you want. Follow your personal muse. Be creative. Try something different, something bold. Dramatica will keep you consistent with that.
I can't imagine a computer program coming up with a great idea of, oh, let's do this, and the excitement and the passion that's required to go through the process of developing a screenplay.
I think that writing is primarily managed procrastination, where you just try to keep yourself in this comfort zone where you think you're doing enough. And the thing is about these programs is they have a tendency to be very forceful in trying to drag the detail of your story out of you, and sometimes that's what you need.
The next question then is protagonist. And then once we have the protagonist, we can go into the three-dimensional character profile, which is the physiological, sociological, and psychological aspects of the character. And then we go to the three-act structure. Collaborator is basically a software program that helps a writer organize his or her ideas for their story, asking you the important questions about who your protagonist is, who the antagonist is, what their relationship is, what happens and why it happens, so that you have your character motivations and goals and needs. Consequently, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. In other words, you get your character up in a tree, you throw rocks at him for a while, and then you get him down. And that's the basic three-act structure in the Aristotelian terms.
What the computer programs presume is that the same thing will happen at the same time in every screenplay, and that's not true. How a screenplay is structured is contingent upon the characters that are created, the story that's created, and not everything happens at the same time in every screenplay.
I used Collaborator to break down a story that I was going to turn into a script. And what was interesting about it was it follows a very strict three-act structure, and it tries to parse or interpret what you're typing in. So, for example, it has certain keywords, like if you use the word violence, it will immediately trigger a response from the program asking you whether or not the act of violence that you're thinking about putting in this scene is necessary or not. Now, it's an interesting idea, but it has a tendency to seem very robotic when you're using it.
The programs that currently exist in the market are all designed as either databases or as fill-in-the-blank programs. The difference with Dramatica is that it's a model of the story mind, a model of psychology of the human mind's problem-solving process. In this control panel, there are only 12 essential questions that have to be answered. 4 questions that deal with the subjective view of the main character in the story, the passionate view. 4 questions that deal with the objective view of the story, the dispassionate view, the view from the general on the hill. And 4 questions that describe the relationship between the subjective and objective views. That's what creates the dissonance that makes the dramatic tension that an audience is going to feel. Now, 12 questions may seem like not an awful lot in order to create an entire story form, but when you think about the fact that DNA has only 4 bases, and out of that all forms of life that ever have existed or will exist can be created, then you begin to realize the magnitude of what you can create out of only 12 essential questions.
What the folks at Dramatica are doing that seems to be significantly different than what anybody else is doing, in a way, is that they're saying that they have literally found the physics of storytelling, the grand unified theory of screenwriting.
Describing the story mind is something that has required today's knowledge of fractals, of chaos theory, of nonlinear equations, iteratives, synchronicity, and a lot of other concepts that come together to make a completely fluid model.
Again, we get back to this problem of jargon. If you look at Dramatica and you start to look at what Dramatica generates, it's almost like some kind of alchemical language where if we find the red mercury of the story and we transmute it into the white phosphorus of the story, we end up with a good third act. And, who knows?
Writers may have some initial skepticism, and we expect quite a lot of initial skepticism that Dramatica can do everything we're claiming it can do. And that's understandable, and it could be a problem, except for the fact we're right.
I mean, my test for it would be, could you use this to break down Beverly Hills Cop 2, Andy Ionesco's Rhinoceros? And if it can handle a non-linear kind of existential story as well as it could handle a piece of high-concept fluff, then it might be, in fact, a useful piece of software.
People for several years have been saying that all the movies are looking alike. And if these programs become something that's used by everyone, then yes, all movies will look alike.
I assume that it's possible that hack work will be able to be generated by machines, but as long as there are thinking human beings, they will want their stories to come through another human.
I mean, if they say that the smartest computer in the world is about as smart as an earwig, we're a long way from Harold Pinter.
I'm sort of tempted to try Dramatica next time I write these links. So if I start spouting fractals and chaos theory, you'll know I've been programmed.